Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Jade. It is great to have you here. So for today's video, I actually wanted to talk about all the books that I've been reading and like all the books that I just read this week. I've read I think 3, and then I'm currently in the middle of 1, so I'm going to talk about that one as well at the end. I do want to go ahead and say that if you don't follow me on my other socials, I'm on TikTok and Instagram at JadesBooks5, where I post a lot of short form content over on my TikTok and some bookish posts and some of my reviews over on my Instagram. And then I'm also on Goodreads and Fable. I update Goodreads religiously, so I'm going to link that down below, as well as my Fable. I normally just use the book club aspect of that, but I'm on there as well if you want to go check that out. Okay, if the angle changed, it's because I feel like maybe my camera might be a little crooked. I apologize if it is, but for real, let's actually get into the first book I read this week. So I finished this one on Monday, and that was The Love Haters by Catherine Center. If you know me, you know that I love Catherine Center. I love her books, I love her characters, I love her plots. I think they are so fun, and I would say that she's like the queen of rom-coms. If you want a good fun little beach read or rom-com, I definitely recommend any Catherine Center book, especially some of her new ones. I haven't quite read her backlist. I've only read, including The Love Haters, 4 of her books, and I've loved really all of them, some more than others, but I've enjoyed all of them. And her books include The Rom-Commers, The Bodyguard, and Hello Stranger. I know this one is not everybody's favorite, but I actually really enjoyed this one, my favorite being The Bodyguard. And I met her recently at my local bookstore, and she signed all 3 of the books, and so I am immensely grateful for that and that experience. And we got a little off topic there, so I kind of didn't know what I wanted to rate this book. I rated it between like a 4.5 and a 5 star. It is still officially 4.5. I haven't quite upgraded it to a 5 star yet, but when I finished it, I just loved it so much, and I feel like it was that 5 star for me. And I feel like personally, because I love Catherine Center so much, I always say take my reviews of her books with a grain of salt, because I feel like I'm going into her books already very biased that this is one of my favorite authors and that I'm going to love her books. So when I rated it 4.5 stars, I was like, you guys, this is my rating. It might not be something that you like, but I love her. I love her books. And when I was reading people's reviews that gave it like 2 or 3 stars or even 1 star, I could see where they were coming from. But because I love Catherine Center, I feel like I was just so biased that it blinded me to all of the critical, constructive criticism that I could have given her book. So I did give it 4.5 stars. So if you don't know what this book is about, it's about her main character. Her name is Katie. She recently, it's been like probably a year or 2, that she broke up with her fiance. When she met him, he was a nobody, but when they were dating, he wrote this song and it got discovered, so now he's like a really big popular singer. And she found out through the media that he was cheating on her, so they broke it off, and she's still reeling from that. It gave her a lot of, I would say, trigger warnings, like body dysmorphia. It gave her like, it got to the point where like she couldn't weigh herself. Her best friend took away her scale because she was just so stuck on the number that she weighed. And you definitely see that reoccurring thought throughout the whole book. That's something that she struggles with throughout the whole book, is her weight and how she's perceived by all these people and how her body looks and how people judge her and all these different things. So if that's something that triggers you, I will say just warning on that end. But that relationship really triggered that in her. And so it says that she's like a love hater. She is done with it. She wants nothing to do with love because she's been burned, once in the past. She has 2 choices ahead of her. She either is going to get fired because a lot of people are being laid off at her video production company, or her coworker Cole offers her an opportunity to make this little documentary of the Navy SEALs, specifically one certain Navy SEAL who kind of went viral for rescuing Jennifer Aniston's dog, and his name is Tom Hutcherson. And if she accepts that job, she'll be going to Key West, Florida, and just kind of following him around and seeing what he does as a Navy SEAL and being in the water and all these different things. And so it's either go to Key West and train like a Navy SEAL or get fired. So Katie's like, I think I want to do, the job that doesn't get me fired, but she's not exactly qualified because Katie can't swim. And if she tells people she can't swim, that she's definitely not going to get that job, and she's definitely going to get fired because then she's bringing nothing to the table. And the reason why Cole wanted Katie to go and why he didn't snatch up that opportunity for himself is because Hutch is Cole's brother and they do not get along. There's a little rivalry going on between them. Cole Cole just has some feelings towards Hutch, who he claims is also a love hater. So she ultimately says yes. She tells Cole that she can swim, that everything's okay, and so she heads off to Key West. So she shows up in Key West. She stays with Cole and Hutch's aunt, but she's not allowed to tell the aunt why she is there, because then the aunt know that Cole could have been there and he decided not to, and he hasn't visited his aunt in a few years, so she's not allowed to tell his aunt why she's there, and she obviously cannot swim, so it's like a bunch of these lies happening, and of course it's a romance, so she's starting to get a little connected to Hutch and a little entangled with him, and then entangled in these lies, and then there's this big dramatic scene that happens towards the end, and it was just so fun. I literally had a great time reading it, and I gave it 4 stars, as y'all know. And so this book was just so dramatic. I loved our characters. I loved Katie. I feel like a lot of Catherine Center's characters are very, 1, relatable, and 2, I just care about them really quickly. I always say Catherine Center has such an ability to make you just so invested in her main characters, and I was so invested and cared for Katie at the very beginning. I just wanted her to be happy. So again, I definitely recommend this if you, 1, just enjoy Catherine Center's books. I definitely think that you should not skip this one, and 2, if you're going to a beach sometime, who knows, this would be a great beach read for you to take along with you, and so I definitely recommend this one. And then the next book I read, which I actually read for the book club that I have with my sister and our friend, and that was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This one follows the main character. His name is Jason Destin, and he gets kidnapped and gets knocked unconscious, and when he wakes up, he's in this alternate reality where his wife is no longer his wife, she's dated another man, and his son doesn't exist. And so he puts the puzzle pieces together and realizes that the person who knocked him out and kidnapped him sent him to a different universe, and so he's now trying to find his way back across the multiverse to his correct universe, and it is so crazy. And even though I don't typically go for sci-fi books, I feel like this was a very good introduction, because with my limited knowledge of the multiverse through watching like the Avengers, it was very easy to comprehend and follow along. But one of the like philosophical questions within this book is, are you happy with your life? And I feel like because that was the question, it really made me think about my life and where I'm at, and the ending was open-ended, and so it made me think about this book for a few days after I was finished with it, because I just wanted to know more about it. And I feel like that whenever that happens and I'm thinking about a book for days afterwards, it's definitely something that piqued my interest and something that I really enjoyed. I feel like the first part of the book was going in one direction, and then the second half of the book completely went in some different direction that I didn't see coming, and I personally loved it, because if you've read this book you know what I'm talking about, but I feel like it kept things fresh and interesting, and it kept me wanting to come back more, because it wasn't just the same old. And so whenever I finish the book, I'm always like, am I going to recommend this one to my friends and my family? And I definitely would recommend this one. Like I said, I'm personally not a sci-fi girly, and this is a sci-fi book, and I feel like this book made me want to read more of that genre and dive a bit deeper into something that I didn't think I was going to really enjoy, because I didn't think I was going to enjoy this one as much as I did. So I definitely would recommend this one to y'all and to my friends and my family. So I definitely would recommend this one to y'all. I felt like it was very fun, very interesting. It kept you thinking, it kept you on your toes, and I really enjoyed it. So the next book I read that I finished this week was As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. This is the 3rd and final installment in the Good Girls Guide to Murder series, which if you do not know what that book's about, it follows your main character Pip as she tries to solve this case that had already been solved, but she just felt personally that they got the wrong killer, and so the first book is her trying to resolve the case to catch the correct killer. And so I say that the first 2 are thriller mysteries, but this one is much more of a thriller instead of this one being a mystery and kind of a true crime case. This one is following Pip as she tries to deal with this dilemma that she created. So even though the series technically for me hasn't come to an end, I still have to read the prequel Killjoy, which this one follows Pip before even the first book takes place. So that's why I'm kind of like, the series kind of did end, even though I still need to read this one. I am sad that it has come to an end. I've loved these books. I've enjoyed them so much. I think that they're for all ages, whether you typically read read YA or you typically read adult books, I think Holly Jackson just writes great YA murder mysteries with that true crime element, and I definitely recommend the audiobooks for these because especially the second one, there's a lot of podcast format with the second one, Good Girl Bad Blood, and when you're listening to it, there's like little jingles whenever you get to the podcast, there's different voice actors for all of them. It's like you're actually listening to a true crime podcast, and it really just brings the story alive and immerses you into it. So I definitely recommend you checking out the audiobook. But I listened to this one on audiobook as well, the full thing through my library, and I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars. I'm just really sad that it's over. I will say Pip was annoying me a bit towards the end, and if you read this, I'm just excited to see if she was annoying y'all at the end as well. She was getting a little bit too much into her head, but that's okay. But I did finish this one last week as well. I keep saying this week and I keep meaning to say last week. The books that I read last week. And then the last book that I finished last week was Love Another Brain Experience by Hannah Braun. I received an arc of this from NetGalley and the publisher Atria Books, and so I'm very thankful for them. But if you don't know what this book is about, it follows our main character. She's a neuroscientist. Her name is Dr. Frances Silberstein. She's a postdoc and she's really struggling to find funding in order to kind of stick somewhere for more than a year to research amnesia. So she gets invited to speak at this New York City science conference, and when she goes to accept, she realizes that it's being hosted by her ex-boyfriend of 5 years, and the reason why they broke up is because she felt like he wasn't giving her that opportunity to grow as an academic, and he was kind of keeping her in this box and low-key using her to further his own career, and so she didn't like that, and so she broke up with him, and she just felt like she would have been more successful than where she is 5 years later, which is, like I said, a struggling postdoc in an academic world. So when she goes to accept it, she sees that he is very successful. He has a tenured job, I believe, and he is engaged and she is none of the above. And so when she gets there, she meets his fiance and kind of implies that she's dating this other neuroscientist, Dr. Lewis North, whom she despises because they have been academic rivals for a while now, and they kind of bash each other through email and on their like peer-reviewed annotations. So she has to go to Lewis and is like, hey, would you want to be my fake boyfriend? And he's like, wait, what? And so they start fake dating, and of course it's a romance. So then things start happening and she starts realizing, well, is he faking these emotions? Because I'm definitely not. So I gave this one 3.5 stars. I found it enjoyable, and I feel like if you love Ali Hazelwood's STEM romance or just academic rivals to lovers in general, if you read An Academic Affair by Jodi McAllister, I definitely recommend you read this one as well. I feel like those are on the lines with this book, and so I think this would be up your alley if you like any of those. Overall, it was a very enjoyable read. It was fast-paced and easy to comprehend, even with all the scientific jargon that was being thrown our way. I did just finish a statistics class, so I feel like I understood some things because I have statistics fresh in my head, but either way I felt like it was very easy to comprehend. I loved our characters and I loved seeing them kind of push each other and help each other grow as academics. I feel like that was very well written, but one of the downsides was it was just very predictable. I felt like I knew when something was introduced, I was like, oh, that's gonna come up later, or everything just felt very in your face. You know, it wasn't low-key. It definitely felt just very predictable, and so that's something where I was like, ugh, I know how this is going to end. I know what's going to happen. Nothing's going to be a surprise. And even though it's a fake dating and fake dating follows a formula, I at least wanted it to be a secret of how we were going to get to the end, but I just felt like I knew what was going to happen, and that took away the fun and the anticipation away from reading it. But I love how our author was able to wrap everything up pretty nicely, and I still would recommend this one. It's like I said, especially if you love Ali Hazelwood's STEM romance or An Academic Affair by Jodi McAllister. So time for my current read. I am on a mission to read more of a specific genre that I used to read a lot when I was in high school, and that genre is historical fiction. And so my plan is to post some videos over on my TikTok. The first one's already up, where I went to the library to pick out my library read for the first book in the series. And that's me trying to revive my love for historical fiction, and the first book I have is The Alice Network by Kate Quinn. I actually have my own copy of this book now. Yeah, going to the library was actually going to help me knock out 2 birds with 1 stone, which is 1, revive my love for historical fiction, and 2, utilize my library. Like physical books from the library. I utilize Libby and audiobooks and ebooks from the library, but I wanted to actually go to the library and check out books and read from there. But then I saw that this was like $8, and so I bought it. Not my brightest moment, but so I do have my own copy of this book now. But if you go over on my TikTok, you will see me going to the library and checking this book out and telling what it's about. But I am about 184 pages into it. I'm on chapter 15 and I'm obsessed with it. If you don't know what this book is about, it follows these two girls. It's a split timeline. We follow our first girl. Her name is Eve, and the year is 1915. It's the beginning of the First World War, and she gets approached by this person to join the Alice Network as a spy in France. And the Alice Network is this very intricate group of spies that try to bring down the German occupation in France. So then fast forward to 1947. It's a few years after the Second World War, and we follow our main character, Charlie. She is in a little predicament. She is pregnant, unmarried, and on the verge of being kicked out by her parents. But despite all those facts, Charlie has bigger problems at hand. Her cousin went missing during the Second World War, and she hasn't been seen from or heard from since. And a few years later, Charlie just is determined to find her. And so when her mom takes her from America to Europe to help take care of her little problem, Charlie breaks free from her and heads to London to try to find answers at the last person who she feels like has knowledge of her cousin Rose's whereabouts. So then flash back to Eve. It's 30 years later. She gets this knock at her door, and it's this American college girl repeating this name that Eve has not heard of in years, talking about some cousin, and then kept repeating this name. And so our two main characters, Eve and Charlie, meet up after both world wars are over and launches both of them on a mission to help find the truth to questions they have long since had. So like I said, I'm 15 chapters into it. I am about, I would say 30%, not quite halfway, and I'm obsessed with it. Every other chapter we get from Eve and then Charlie, but of course Eve in 1915 and then Charlie in 1947. And I typically don't like split timelines, but I feel like I only like them whenever it's a mystery thriller or a historical fiction. I don't like split timelines whenever it is with a romance book, but I'm really enjoying this one, and I feel like I'm equally invested in both timelines and both storylines that are spanning across 30 years and 2 wars, and I'm really interested to see how this plays out. So y'all stay tuned. I'm definitely going to keep reading this, and I'm actually glad that I did accidentally buy my own copy. But that is all for today's video. I'll hopefully see you on the next one. Bye!